All right, we'll let your video play here run through. Take a look at what we're working with. All right, run that back for you. And now let's just take one thing that we can easily see and that we know that we got to be paying attention to as our intensity ramps up. That's our head. Just watch what your head does here. It's on the target. It's locked in. And now, why is your nose all of a sudden looking at us? You go back, and you're here. And now, all of a sudden, you're looking at us. And now, you're not even looking at the target. Your eyes are in this direction over here. You're looking in third base dugout. So if your eyes are over here, where we think our shoulders are at, our shoulders are really counter-rotated here, which isn't a bad thing, but we have to be getting into this counter-rotation in a very particular time in our delivery, and we have to have really good explosive lower body. And later on in this video, we're going to be talking about this lower body and the lack of power that we're getting from it. Okay, but for now, we're just staying upper half. Okay. Starting with the head. It's on the target, and now it's moving. Starting to look towards the wall, towards the camera, and now what's it going to have to do after that? It's going to have to whip. Oh, look, now you can see where you're throwing. Is it in time? Well, we hope so, because here comes that arm. All right, so that's when I keep telling you that you're loading that head up to swoop it through. That's what I'm saying. Your head is just loading this way to then fire through that way. So let's get just some videos queued up here. Let's go with and one more. Here we go. All right. So let's go ahead and just watch these guys and their heads. Not cut right. That's a longer one. Oops, I didn't want to exit. Dang it. Okay. All right. Aaron Nola's head is a little bit towards us, but those eyes are on that target. He's just looking over his shoulder. Head stays on. We go to Peacock here. Eyes on the target. Eyes on the target. Even as those shoulders load up and as they release, everything stays on target. Pull up this other one here. Eyes are on the target. staying on the target even as the shoulders load up. I stay on the target even as the shoulders release. Eyes are staying on the target, head staying nice and quiet. Okay, so we come back to you here. So here I start on the target. And then we just lose that ability to keep them there. And now we gotta bring it back. And they're just coming around as those shoulders come around. So we just got a lot of rotation happening all at once here. All right. Not only is your head rotating at this time, but your shoulders and your trunk are rotating at this time. And again, we're not at the lower body yet right now, but the lower body is also rotating at this time. Our whole body rotates at the same time. That's not a very fast, explosive way to accelerate power rotationally out in front. All right. So as we're getting through here, we can say shoulder to elbow here is parallel with the ground. Maybe a little bit down. Maybe this elbow's a little bit lower here than our shoulder is here. So let's remember we're trying to get this good weight back posture here. And it's going to be easier if we don't have this heavy glove down low here. So if we want this glove to get up more, all we got to do is get this elbow higher up here, and this forearm will go with it, and then the glove, heel of your glove will be right here then. All right, so let's look at these guys. All right, lower glove. All right, if I was to say anything with Fernando Salas here, not very powerful with his shoulders. Look at Nola. Okay, see how he's coming out, get one more frame. How we're getting right there is the point at which he's getting it above, and then right here is when we're starting to swivel that glove to finish. We get old Sir Bradley here going through his descent down the mound, and we can see already where that elbow is. It's above that shoulder, getting up to a peak like that. So let's get, oops, wrong way. What am I trying to do here? Come on now. There we go. Let's get some other guys here. Let's get back to that Kyle Wright. And let's get King Felix. And let's look at these guys and their glove path. All right. Get through King Felix. Boom. Oh, let me get that pause. So the angle of his shoulders are then extended through this glove side. The angle of the shoulders is extended through the glove side. We're trying to stay with our weight back and still go down this mound. We're trying to keep our weight back but still go down the mound, and then create leverage with our shoulders and our hips to be able to, at the last second, flip that angle from back from being back to being down as smooth as possible. So having that glove getting elevated is going to help us use that leverage to get down. To get down. So if our glove's way down here, we don't have a lot of leverage to get us down. Because the glove is already so down. So we just need to get this elevated more early. So that way as it extends, it doesn't just stay horizontal, but we can get some elevation with it. All right. Next, let's look at this wrist. We're cupping, curling, cobra, however you want to think of it. If we get that action going there, it's going to start sending our elbow up higher, quicker than we want it to. So when we get into this position here, this is our scap load, scap load, scap load. But we're going to see after your scap load, your elbow, oops, lost my track there. Your elbow now is going to have to come down a little bit to counter this curl. So that way when it comes through now, our hand can be behind the baseball instead of above the baseball. So if we look at these guys in their hands as they're coming through, or rather as they're coming out of their hand separation, boom, looks just like you. Okay? Wrist position is a little different. He hasn't came with that hand turned over yet. Now he's there. But right there, he's kind of there. But your hands, boom and boom. Very similar position. Wrists, very similar position. Okay? And now watch, as you come back, that curl, as he loads it back, there's no curl. So now he gets this scap load versus you having to now work through this curl that's impacting these elbows, or this forearm, which is impacting the elbow, that now has to get it curled out. You got to curl it out of that. And all that is just a little timing issue, as opposed to it just staying firm the whole time, and then it can come out in front. Okay, so let's look at, I don't know, the quality is going to be good enough to see. Yeah, we should be able to. All right, so ball out of the glove, your ball out of the glove. So again, very similar positions here and here, but just look at the difference that the shoulders can be in strength-wise if this elbow is just a little bit higher. If your elbow got a little bit higher, we could be a little bit stronger. Okay, but we're done past that. We're just on the arm now. Felix keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. And now as that scap load occurs, that wrist is not curling. See, it's staying nice and firm. So that way it's on time coming through. We just got that little curl that messes with our forearm timing. That could lead to potential little misfires in our release every time. And we're just trying to find consistency. In this curl, we can't guarantee that it's going to be the same curl every time. We can't guarantee that it's going to get in that curl the same time. We can't guarantee it's going to get out of that curl at the same time, at the same angle, each and every time. So if it's something that we can't control every time, we don't want to be trying to mess around with it. Who else we got here? Kyle Wright. So, again, ball comes out of the glove. You guys are in rather similar positions. His works low to high. You're already up a little bit, but fingers on ball, fingers then ball. Yours, again, comes out and curls. His goes out and stays straight. versus you're curling and then having to be in that curl still here. Now your fingers finally get behind the baseball, and now they're laying back to then get behind the baseball again. And that window is so tight and small that the consistency rate is not very strong, or very high, rather. Okay, so that's what the upper body, head, controlling it, glove getting up more with the elbow more elevated, trying to feel that curling of the wrist right here, and trying to prevent that from happening by keeping a nice, stiff, firm wrist. All right, upper body's done. Everything from here on out's lower body. We get ourselves in a good, strong set position. Good high leg lift. But we can see all we've really done at this point is just kind of lose that entire leg lift height and just lean back, lean back, lean back, lean back. I don't know if you're old enough to know who Little John is, but we're not Little John leaning back. Okay? We notice on these guys, okay, leg is coming up, and what's body weight doing? Body weight's going out, and they've gained ground. Notice where the head started and where the head gets when his leg gets out as far as yours. Pretty good distance. We take yours back here, we put this at your head, and you go to that same point where your leg's at. Boom. And all we're doing is just dropping this straight down. You didn't gain any ground. Let's look at King Felix. All right. Leg lift, getting to the point of, and the camera's moving a little bit, so it's going to be hard to track, but we'll be able to see. Just watch how his body's moving here. See how his body's moving down and out to get to this point? Kyle Wright. Let's look. Legs coming up, and he's going down and out. All right. If we just notice where he's at, obviously the camera's moving a little bit, but just watch where this guy's at, and look how far past him he's gotten during this part. So what you've done is you've just sunken yourself into a weaker position without really gaining any ground. So now we're closer to this foot getting into foot strike, which is right there. Once this foot gets in the ground, that's front foot strike. Okay. Your foot now is so close to front foot strike, and we haven't gained any momentum down this mound yet, that we're going to have to use just straight power and strength out of this backside to actually get us going. And if we don't, this front leg, being that now it is out in front and leading the way already, yet we have gained no ground by leading with the hip. We never led with the hip. The leg's coming down, and it's just the foot leading the way. And if the foot leads the way, we're going to have the head going almost backwards to stay back at that point. So now we have so much weight back and no momentum to the plate that by the time our back leg is ready to drive, our foot's so close to just falling to the ground that we can't drive at all. Boom. Watch this back leg here. Foot, shin, and knee. Just watch what this does as this foot gets into the ground. Into the ground. Into the ground. Okay? Now let's watch what these guys' back leg does as this foot gets in the ground. So we're going to start it. We started yours right here. We're going to start these guys right here. And now watch what this, again, foot, shin, knee. Watch what this area does. Boom, into foot strike. Boom, into foot strike. Boom, into foot strike. Watch what this foot's doing. Watch how it's driving away from the rubber. Driving through that big toe. Through that big toe. Driving through that big toe. That heel's not coming off the ground because we're driving through the ground. We got to rotate it. And drive it. Drive it. Drive it. We watch your backside at this point, and it just toe comes off, or the heel comes off the ground. 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 So obviously we can see how much more power this backside here is producing. Wham. 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 So now all that rotation there, leading into foot strike right there, now as this stays closed, all of this linear drive, wham, to the target, and rotational energy from this backside rotating can now get sent up to this upper half, and that upper half takes all that energy, multiplies it with the energy the upper half can create on its own, and now wham, there's our power. Wham, there's our power. Wham, there's our power. Versus wham, ball's not even out. And we're just going to throw a dart at it now. We're just throwing darts. Throwing darts. Throwing darts. All because that lower half didn't do anything. Now let's watch what the lower half does. Now that the foot has finally gotten in the ground at foot strike, let's watch how much rotation this wants to do now. But it can't. Why can't it? Because this foot comes off the ground. Watch how much it wants to rotate here. Ugh! But it's not rotating anything. It's just in the air. Why is it in the air? Because the only thing the back foot did was heel come off the ground. Versus heel staying on the ground and us driving with that backside into that foot strike. Okay, so let's use someone else. Let's go back to King Felix here, and we'll get him to that same starting point that we have you at here. Okay, and let's watch what this backside here is doing during this time. Driving. That heel's not coming off the ground because he's got to drive through the rubber. If you're in your tippy toes, you ain't got nothing to drive off that rubber with. We got to keep the entire side of our foot up against that rubber so we can use the entire side of our foot to drive away from it and rotate. All right. Drive and rotate. Drive and rotate. Drive and rotate. That way front foot strike goes out. 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 Not just straight. Be starting here and it going down. 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 And it can't go out if this backside's not driving it, because that's the only body part that's supposed to drive us to the target. But just watch how much this front leg reaches. It's reaching. And now you're almost in a wide stance, wider than you could do a hamstring stretch. And that's not a good position to try to drive off that backside. So let's go to another. Let's go to Kyle Wright. Let's get him at that point there. Okay, let's watch what this backside's doing here. Driving through that rubber, getting the body going forward to the target. Driving. So that way, once he gets in the front foot strike, now he has all of that power. All of that power versus throwing a dart. So we got to start getting this backside to get going. And one of the best to look at to see it as easy as possible is one of the best to do it. And that's a roll this. So here he is in this position here, but look what he's doing. He's keeping this loaded. He's keeping this strong. And now watch what this backside's going to do here. Foot staying connected to that rubber so you can drive through his toe, through his big toe. Watch how much ground. All right, heel is on the ground still. Every frame after this one, the heel is going to start to come off. Watch how much further his foot's going to get than this guy's pant leg right here. Just by driving through the foot, through his toe, he went from foot being here to going another good maybe 10 inches. Okay? That's the power our lower body can create. Look at these knees, feet, and shins and hips rotating here. Bam. 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 So that way, once he gets into foot strike, and this is all closed off still, he has all of this power. All of this power. All of this to come through for him. Because that lower half helped him get all of that power. Versus your lower body doing nothing. And now because the hips haven't rotated, this knee hasn't rotated, this backside hasn't driven nor rotated, everything back here has to come forward at some point. And that's going to occur once these shoulders start to rotate. So that means these shoulders not only are getting zero power help from the lower body, but it's going to now have to rotate and pull this entire backside through as it rotates. So not only is it not getting to be faster because of the lower body, it's now having to work slower and harder to pull all this weight through. So watch, every time this knee, foot, and hip rotate, it's because this shoulder is pulling it forward. See that there? Your shoulder is having to rotate this entire backside and all of your hips. It's having to rotate. And it's having to do most of that on one leg, which is a lot to ask for and still get power. And because that backside doesn't work, that's why it just finishes almost straight forward. There's nothing going up and around. Watch Chapman's back leg comes up and around. Kyle Wright's back leg up and around. Felix back leg up. Oh, well, video cuts out, but it would have been coming around. Peacock's leg up and around. Your back leg swooping around to the side. Why they're just swooping around to the side? Because your hips never fired on their own, so they can't be violent like theirs are. Yours are just getting pulled with the shoulders, so they can only go as far as the shoulders. And then now look, you're pretty much squared up at this point, trying to get all that power, and your shoulders don't continue to rotate. Your shoulders have pretty much stopped rotating here. And now watch. Now it's just the arm going, and watch how much the arm just pulls across the body here. As opposed to these guys throwing, and watch the shoulders keep going. See how the shoulders kept going? They keep going with that arm. Facing the dugout. We already said that one cut out too soon. Chapman gets to release, and then the shoulders keep rotating. He's facing the dugout. Hips facing the dugout. Eyes on the target. Head on the target. Kyle Wright. Shoulders keep rotating. Eyes stay on the target. He's so rotated, he's facing the fans over here. He's closer to first base coach than he is to the first base dugout. All right? If we don't allow the shoulders to keep rotating, we are telling this arm, all that energy and power you're throwing with, got to stop now. That's not a very big window for it to stop in. And if we don't allow the arm enough time and distance to slow down properly, our arm is going to have to start doing things differently to slow that arm down. And the more muscles that have to get involved of slowing that arm down, the worse. We want our scap, which is back here, to take that deceleration load and stress. But that scap can't take that load if we don't give it time. Right now, your arm is having to slow itself down versus you throwing and your body continuing to rotate to give you more time to slow that arm down. Your body continuing to rotate to give you more time to slow that arm down. Your body continuing to rotate to give your arm more time to slow down. More time for these muscles to activate. More time for these muscles to activate. More time for these muscles to activate. All right. So, seems like there's a lot of things that we need to work on, but if we just take it one thing at a time while we're playing catch and doing throwing drills and just focus on the glove for 30 throws, then we focus on the wrist curling for 30 throws, then we work on the backside driving for 30 throws. Then when we hop up on the mound, we've gotten a good amount of repetition with each of those components, where then hopefully we make improvements a little bit on the mound with those aspects.